Hi, I am Dr. Nikam. Welcome to the Foundation for India Studies Oral History project held in collaboration with the Houston Community College and the Houston Public Library. This is a project where we record oral history from first generation Indians, and it is recorded here at the Houston Community College, and it is stored permanently in the Houston Public Library. Our guests today are Dr. Venu Gopal Menon and Sridevi Menon. Venu Gopal and Sridevi, welcome to the Foundation for India Studies.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome. Let me start with you. Let's tell us something about where your life journey originated and where you landed in America and what has transpired since then.
Well, it has been quite a long journey, but before I get to that, thank you for having us here. We feel very honored to have been included. Of course, age is in our favor, that we kind of graduate to that, right? So this is a great thing that the Foundation of India Studies is doing, and to record it for our posterity. Something great, the people who are behind it, like Dr. Krishna Vatsakumar, yourself. So our gratitude, our appreciation.
Thank you.
Starting our journey, we came to this country 1969, end of 1969.
I see,
So we left India in 68. We stayed a year in Scotland.
I see,
And that was only a stepping stone to get over here. Of course, being a physician, we had to write some qualifying exam, which we did in Scotland, and came here in 69. We spent about 3 years on the East Coast.
What particular city were you in?
We were in Washington, D.C. I was doing my pediatric residency in D.C. General Hospital.
I see,
After 2 years there, we went to University of Connecticut in Hartford. I did my third year of pediatric residency there. And then I had an interview for fellowship, allergy immunology in Houston. That was in 72. I came here on a October afternoon from a huge pile of snow in Connecticut. We landed with the bright sunshine in Houston. And at that moment I decided, if I get selected, this is the place I want to be.
So from 72, you have been here since then? Okay, let's go back a little further. What medical school did you go to, and what part of India you come from?
India, the only medical school in our state, Kerala, was Trivandrum. I was a 1956 batch, sixth batch of the medical school.
That's good.
Right. So after the med school, that's the time India-China war was, the emergency declaration. So I felt it's kind of a obligation or a duty as a citizen. So we joined the army and served almost 4 years in the emergency medical corps. And coming out, spent a few months in the state medical service before I decided to get out of the country.
So when did you meet Sridevi?
We got married in 1964, a year after my medical school. And so we are celebrating the 48th year this year.
Another 2 years, it will be half a century.
God willing, we will.
Very good. Okay, tell us about your experience after you came to Houston.
Overall, it has been a very pleasant and a very rewarding experience. Came here, as I said, to do the fellowship in allergy immunology. As the only program at that time was Baylor. And I was at the same time working with one of the major allergy clinic here, McGovern Allergy Clinic. So after the fellowship, did my boards in pediatrics first in 1976, and then allergy immunology boards in 1977. And they offered me a position, so I joined the clinic as an associate at that time.
So you joined the clinic and retired from the clinic?
Isn't
that fascinating?
Absolutely.
One job, not many people are lucky.
And I have absolutely no regrets. Worked for almost 35 years, and I can proudly say the last 8 years before I retired, I was the president of one of the well-known clinics in the country. So that is an accomplishment, I think, very
how did you switch from pediatrics to allergy and immunology?
It's not switching, as you know, being a doctor. Once you have your primary boards,
care,
you always look for something as a subspecialty.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I looked into many options, this is one I thought could have a family life without too much of interruption, too much of night calls and all that. And I was right.
I think that's a very good point, because there are some surgeons who are hardly home a few hours a week.
You don't get to see your children when they're awake or something like that.
So you said you came to Houston in
1973. Actually, we landed here January 1st, 1973.
So what were things like in Houston in terms of, I mean, obviously the climate was pretty close to what it is in Kerala, but in terms of people, job and interaction with the community?
Seeing the question, I looked about that. The Houston, the space-wise, the area might have doubled.
I see,
in the last 40 years or something. And I would say the population has doubled. But the Indians, I was told, when I came here, there were about 600 Indians in Houston. Probably some of the people who are to be interviewed have been here that long. So Indian population has multiplied about 200 times as compared to the doubling.
I think by some estimates, the Indian population at this time is like 125,000 people.
That's right. So 600 to 125 is about 200 times.
Enormous.
So it's been, we decided to stay here. And after about 7-8 years of working here, I had this urge, you may call it an itch, to go back and serve India.
Is that right?
So, 14 years. Okay. So sometime in 83, we packed up and left for India.
Oh, is that right?
And that was with Apollo Hospital, which was starting in Madras. That time. So Dr. Reddy came here and then kind of tried to get people for visits. So I was one among them. Went there, and then after 2 years, for various reasons, we decided to come back. So the second time around, it was a permanent move. This is the place to.
So what was the experience, dealing with the mainstream Americans back in 1970s, when there was a lot of questions about discrimination or segregation, things like that, which other ethnic groups have experienced?
I have to relate that to a story of one of my cousins who came to this country. He's a physician. In 1959. So when he described all the difficulties, the gas stations will not pump gas into your car, or you cannot get a. So I was expecting that kind of an experience. But coming here in the 70s, that made a lot of difference. So personally, thank God, we didn't have that kind of even though occasionally you come across with an occasional patient or somebody in the shopping mall or something, they look at you as if you are a different species or something. But if you are prepared for that, which I was, it was not a major problem. I wouldn't say it was. Occasionally you feel kind of awkward and maybe sad and angry at times, but that is a very rare experience, I would say.
Sridevi, we would like you to jump in anytime you want to, agree with him or contradict, whatever. You don't have to feel shy.
He wears Western clothes, right?
Yes.
But I was wearing saris and all that all the time. So, but always people were, oh, that looks lovely. What does it mean by this bindi? And all. So those days, and how do you wrap the sari and all those things in a shopping center. But that also, they kind of compliment usually. But only one experience we had in the neighborhood where we were living, in the Fondren Southwest area. There were some kids who used to run and come and put eggs on our door.
Is that right?
Yeah, that happened many times. About at least 10 times, Because every now and then I hear this sound, and another time I look, it is kids, it is kids' friends, So, but that happened. That is the only thing I think you can call it discrimination or whatever, you know.
Well, even it happens today, you know, people will come and grab all the trees in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kids are kids.
Kids are kids.
That's the only thing we had. I never had any other.
Tell us, you know, both of you can tell us about your experience with the children, interacting with the schools, and, you know, what kind of...
You are more connected with them, so you can...
School, actually, our older daughter, she was born in India.
I see,
So she had to move so many times, and that too in the middle of the year, like January. He used to change the jobs. And so she was a little nervous about all that. She used to have some physical problem with that because she will, you know, nervous and all that thing. But the others, when they came, and we were trying to keep our language, you know, at home, Malayalam, that's what we speak. So, and she was very fluent in that. But as soon as the second one was born, she just, then I got more busier with the other kids, and then the other one came. So we have 3 children. So she was, she will start to talk to them only in English, and you know, like, she had an excuse to speak in English more. So she just shied away from Malayalam slowly. But she still understands and she speaks.
All of them speak the language they have to.
But she just won't speak all the time.
That's an interesting point, because as first generation Indians, we want to preserve our language, heritage, culture and all this. But the second generation Indians, you know, they have a lot of challenge. Because in English, I mean, school they have English and all this, and friends speak English, and it becomes an extra challenge for parents to continue to cultivate our cultural
and from the children's point of view, they went through a kind of a turmoil time, you know, coming home with a different culture and going to school, and they have to deal with their classmates, and that poses a big problem. And
so how many children do you all have, and what do your children do now?
They
all are married.
3 children, 2 girls and a boy. All are married, and we have 6 grandchildren between all of them. Unfortunately, nobody is in Houston.
So you got a permanent job then?
She had. Mostly she took care of that.
But for language thing, you know, I was talking about that. So then luckily we got this dance school started.
I see,
When they were, first one was about 10 years, and then second one 5 years. So we enrolled them in the Indian Bharatanatyam. So
Ratnakumar came into Houston and started that.
So then there was a change, you know, like they were very interested in going dance, learning dance, and through that they learned a lot of Indian stuff, you know, the stories. Stories.
I think the cultural dances cover all aspects of Indian life. Dress, music, discipline,
very much
culture.
So it was wonderful to have that. So it helped us a lot.
So what would you say would be the biggest challenge after you came to Houston that you had to face?
You know, I would think, you know, that life was easy. Kind of, and of course, you know, you had to work hard to
you
get
chose
through
the
your boards.
Right subject. Allergy and immunology, you're not like cardiac surgeon.
It's not like cardiac, but it's a lot to read about, a lot to, you know, all the challenges and requirements of going through the boards and then establishing a practice. Of course, I was fortunate to have walked into and joined into an already established, well-known clinic. So it's a question of time before the patients found out, even though I come from a different shade and different accent. You know, as long as you provide service to them and you are caring and concerned about their problem, gradually you build up your practice.
So did you find the accent to be a difficult stumbling block between you and the rest of the community?
I would say selectively.
I see,
Some of the people from a different kind of background or setup who are not, you know, strangely, when I talk to somebody on the phone, I hardly have any problem.
I see,
But when they walk in and then look at you, they have the block to begin with. You know, this person, his lingo or the way he speaks, I'm not going to. So some of the people who are very traditionally, not exposed to too much of outsiders and all that.
Yeah.
There was some talk, but speaking, and we have this bad habit of speaking too fast.
That's true, yeah.
That, when you speak to Americans, you have to slow down and separate words and, phonetically. So eventually, we survived. All right.
So what do you think was your biggest professional challenge?
Professional challenge is to the people who come to you, trusting you and expecting you to help them. The professional challenge is to give them relief for what they approach you. As you know, being a doctor, they throw out everything on you, including not only their problem, the family problems and all that. And you have to lend that ear, be patient, listening to them more than you talk to them. And if you are that and you show that concern and caring, medicines, what you do is only a small percentage. So that's my belief. The medications and all that is only as important as how you feel for them. And
tell us something about the social interaction and what kind of challenges you faced as a head of the household.
Yes, mostly it was all easier. But then, we used to go to the school, children, we used to have the international days and all, a little bit of all those sari, we started all those days, so food for the birthdays and some laddus or some things like that. Then the kids will come. Before we had some neighbors, and then those kids, our children used to say, why you are always cooking rice? Then I said, rice is there, but the other things are different, right? But the neighbors came, the Americans, they used to play together. And then they were asking, why you are using your fingers to eat? They said, they asked, then I said, God has given you, this fingers, you don't need all that thing. And it is easy, and you can wash your hands and all those things. And so they were surprised why we are eating with our fingers.
That's an interesting point, because even in 2012, one of the prominent persons from America went to India and said, why you people are eating food with your fingers, and somebody turned around and said, how do you eat your fried chicken and all this, or hot dogs? So I think
God-given fork.
There are certain foods which have to be eaten with hand, and I see no big difference.
Kids used to ask a lot of questions, And one thing was religious. So the religion, we tried to do something at home. Then at that time we started there was some bhajan kind of group. So we were in that, and then eventually this temple happened.
Oh, I see.
So then we used to take the children, because we were all, that is one worry I had. Because, being Hindus, and how do you carry on with your traditions. So whatever is possible we used to do in the family and as a group. But then this temple came and it helped us.
What's the name of the temple?
We are involved in Meenakshi temple.
Oh, okay.
That is existing for 33 years
That's
now.
Right,
So,
but
by the time our children were little big.
Religious
that was the first established religious institution in Houston, Indian institution. Of course, since then many have come up, and we have been, from day one, we have been involved with Meenakshi temple, and to this day. And only regret is it came full-fledged by the time our children grew up and they left for college and all that. So even though it benefited, our involvement benefited the future generations, our children were not the beneficiaries at that time.
So are you involved in any type of social, cultural?
We had to be from the very beginning. We can think of Meenakshi temple is one. ICC, the first meeting onwards, we were ICC, India Culture Center was established. Now it is on very strong footing, and established the India House and all that. But at that time we met in a clubhouse.
What year was this?
I believe I may be wrong. 74.
74.
74, I think.
The India Culture Center.
India Culture Center.
Oh, okay.
Then Indo-American Charity Foundation. She was involved from the very beginning. Daya, and she was one of the founding members.
Yeah.
Then Indian Doctors Club, which is Indian Doctors Association now. We were all the initial founders.
Members.
It's an auxiliary of Indian Doctors Association.
Yeah.
I was involved in that.
I see, yes.
So looking back, it's very, very, very satisfying, very accomplishment that and what you're doing today to record it as facts, so that our future generations can.
Yeah, it is. It's very important, for our children and grandchildren to see, what kind of experience we had, and how it can benefit them in terms of interacting with the other populations. I mean, there are many ethnic groups, who have recorded oral history from their generations.
Absolutely. America, of course, is a melting pot from many people, and so I firmly believe we do that. This is our country now. As much as we help India as wherever it's possible, we have to pitch in to promote the whatever culture, and even though we are not in the mainstream. When we came, we tried kind of season tickets for symphony and NBA and all that. After some time, we go through that stage, and then you settle back, and
it's kind of interesting because initially we are attracted to all this new fancy stuff, but as we get older, we are more interested in our ethnic food and our music, our culture, and we feel comfortable
very much
at home.
This is what we grew up with, and that's ingrained in our brain, and our whole system will. Since
we were talking about the American system, let me ask you, were you fascinated by the American sports or politics?
Oh, there is so much of goodness in people. Fundamentally, Americans are very generous and very kind-hearted, even though not very well informed. Average American is not. So out of ignorance and not being aware of so many things, they may be. But if I could even compare with the Indian, is not snoopy about neighbors, and they get into all kinds of petty kind of. So that way. Otherwise, this is a country of the best country you can think of. If you were to leave your homeland, this is probably the end.
I was in France just 2 weeks ago, and after drinking the water first time, I said I need to go back to Sugarland.
You feel that. Anywhere else in the world, you feel you belong, and it's very comfortable. I mean.
So, do you have any political views?
Probably religion and politics are not something to be discussed on. It's all right between friends or not so. We believe in, there is a good system here, extreme conservatism to the other end, liberalism somewhere in between. And I believe in sharing. Fortunately, we have made it well. The life has been good, and we are getting. So I think there is a little obligation for us to take care of the not so fortunate. I believe that the people who are not so well done, most of them don't do it by choice. So that is my philosophy. Extreme anything is bad, so is liberalism or conservatism.
Do you have any hobbies, interests, special interests?
We have been involved with, we played tennis quite a bit, many years. She was in the circuit going around, she was in the league and all that. She was a very staunch tennis player. We traveled almost all over the world with children when they were young, and now we have slowed down on those things. I was very fond of photography.
I see.
So that was one thing. I like to write whenever I can, so not as a very, kind of, as a pastime, that kind of thing. What else?
You touched upon your children growing up, and tell us something about the cultural clash, what kind of impact had on your children and you, both of you. Yeah.
The clash came when when the time of marriage.
Yeah.
That was the
Is
worry.
all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the worry we had.
Yeah.
In the beginning, of course, when the children are growing
Yeah.
up. So that was the main worry. There was nothing else to be worried about. So then our first daughter came and this bombshell on us. She wants to marry somebody, like an American boy. So, but he turned out to be the nicest man.
Oh, okay.
So we have
In our
met.
lives, yeah.
Very.
We were very concerned about many things. There are so many differences than similarities. So we were afraid.
But he was very much willing to, he knew everything.
I see,
he accepted our traditions, including our traditions and everything.
I married almost 20 years and two children.
Oh,
Very well
that's
settled.
nice to
And our second daughter
Yeah.
is married to a Gujarati, and
Yeah.
of course an Indian, similar background. They grew up here, so that they have 3 children.
Yeah.
And our son is the only one who is married to a Malayali girl, whom he found out.
That's
So
good.
we don't have anything
Yeah.
to their. It's all their choices, and they are all. Thank goodness they are all well settled, happy. Yeah.
Oh, that's. So, what has been your biggest lesson coming to this America that you could share with the next generation?
Biggest lesson, the first flight we took out of India,
Yeah.
it wrote a different history
see,
in your life and in your future.
Yeah.
So we, after, I don't know, thousands of years of traditions and all in India, we took the bold step or a false step. We don't know. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But right now, we made that cutoff point and moved over to this, and then we became one of the melting pots. And and I firmly believe, as much as we got from the society or the country, we have a obligation and a duty, a responsibility to give back to the community.
That is
So we are involved with whatever charity we can.
Yeah.
Culturally, it's limited because we don't have any background for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is our obligation. Politically, I cast my vote, and depending on who I feel it's a right candidate. So that's.
So I think we have seen the change.
Yeah.
And you see, after one generation of kids growing up and all, that is good only.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the mainstream Indians are the Americans are very much aware of many of our things. Today I just came back from the temple. There was a busload of people seeing the temple, and now they know. They automatically take their shoes off and things like that. All those traditions, they are aware of it and see how much yoga is, widespread, and our things they are accepting and even praising sometimes. Our family values and all that.
And
so that is our, contribution.
Yeah, that I should add. The fact that we try to impart our culture and traditions to the children as they grew up, and even though they were kind of conflicting between the two cultures in the school and all that, including our children, most of our children, the next generation did extremely well. Accomplishing, doing very well in school, and so it has only added to the two kinds of cultures, added to their contribution as citizens of the country. So,
what advice do you have for the new generation Indians?
New generation Indians, you are chosen to be in this country as a citizen of this country. So your loyalty, your input, you pitch in the best you can. At the same time, not forgetting your fundamental values and culture and the roots. And in addition to that, that can be not a deterrent to this society. It could be a contribution, adding on to the culture spectrum of this country, and contributing and enhancing the culture. So we can, many of our values, even the Ayurvedic things and the yoga, the meditation, it's all commonplace now. And even though they may or may not give the credit to where it all came from, we can be proud that this is definitely contributing to the mainstream culture. So
you said when you came there were only 600 people, and now it's close to 125,000 people with multitude of organizations and non-profit setups and all this. What is your thought on this fragmentation of the Indian society?
I am with you. I think I wish there was a cohesiveness. And in spite of our individual interests and all that, collectively, hope we feel we are united as Indians, serving the country we have decided to be our home. So fragmentation is a major kind of problem I see, and I wish, and also the next generations may not even have that kind of. They may be all first Americans, and then could be. So.
We're like a sandwich generation, and our children are also like a sandwich generation. Between, from the pure Indian culture to mixed culture, and they want to be in the mainstream altogether.
So eventually that's probably what's going to happen, even though after many, many generations we still call Italian Americans, African Americans, and so it could be an Indian American generation, five generations from now. That's
things are going to evolve like the rest of the communities.
But I think being the first generation or zero generation, we have done our best. I think all of us have pitched in. Being good citizens, we have contributed professionally, culturally, and economically. And we are exceedingly a good community which has left our shores and established our homes in this country.
Now that you are retired, let me ask you a question: as how do you all spend your time?
Good question.
We are community, which is different from the American retired life.
For whatever reason, we decided when we retired, before retiring, we bought a piece of land next to the Meenakshi temple, and it was not in our plans for a long time, but then when we chose to build a house adjacent to the temple. So being the temple, and she's very religious, she walks into the temple twice a day, and she spends and volunteering there and doing all kinds of things. So for her, it's a very established routine, and I am also involved with in an advisory role. And I do read, write, and so temple has been a very, very big positive thing in the retirement age. I hope we can establish a community around the temple so that we can have
You brought a book, and you want
to explain to us about I didn't know whether it will be of any relevance here.
Any book written is relevant.
This is a book written in Malayalam. It's about our mother. My mother.
What could be more important than a mother?
Exactly. So when she passed away 3 years ago, I was here. I wasn't at her, but she was in the hospital only for one day. She was 93 years old, and she raised 7 children. I am the eldest of the 7. And when I went there, the usual traditional final rites and all that, I was leading as the eldest. So after we finished all that 14 or 15 days of those things, we all sat around and then thought about maybe we should write something about mother. So it's so evolved that after a year we have written enough. So we compiled, my brother in India compiled the whole thing as a book. This is it means our mother. And
it's ironic because what you and your brothers have done in a book is what the Foundation for India Studies is doing, recording the experiences of first generation Indians. So it very perfectly fits
blends in
with what we are trying to do this afternoon.
Excellent. So that's our accomplishment, and that's probably one thing we can always pass it on to the. Unfortunately, it's mostly in Malayalam. I am in the process of translating it into English. It's not that easy.
I know.
But for our children to understand, so that's what we are. I'm
Do you
trying to
think America is headed in the right direction in overall perspective compared to what it was in the 60s, 70s,
When you ask
and
that
80s?
question,
Huh?
I'm reminded of that book, the recently who fell into kind of trouble with, what is that, Fareed Zakaria,
Fareed
wrote a book
Zakaria, yeah.
called The Post-American World.
Yeah.
Post-American. Of course, every country passes through the phase of evolution, and India probably 1,000, 2,000 years ago had its time. And then Europe came along, and this is the millennium of United States, America. And I think it is still many years behind it in its history or future. That it'll still be, of course, it has become a small, universe has become very small. That's with true, all the communications and all the technology. So a child growing up in India or United States or anywhere in the world is exposed to the same kind of information.
That's
and
true, yes.
so that way, economically, there is right now China is coming up, and you never know, we cannot. But if we stay to our original habits and traditions of this country, working hard and pitch in the best you can, and from the input and all the sharing of cultures and heritage from all over the world, this is a country which will be on the top for a long time to come. That's my view.
So, what are your future plans?
Oh.
You're still young, so.
I am still young, turned 75 3 days ago. 20th was my 75th
congratulations.
birthday. And I keep, I don't know, with all our philosophical understanding or belief, you shouldn't be worrying about that, but it is a concern. How we are going to go, how long it's going to take to go. So future is keep doing what you're doing, and let the destiny or fate take its course. That's of course, we can survive. We have, reasonably all right, probably financially, and of course, then if it runs out of our hands, then of course children can decide, and they're good children. They are caring. And
you are watching Foundation for India Studies Oral History Project. I am Dr. Nikam, host, and our guests today are Dr. Venu Gopal Menon and Sridevi Menon. Any final thoughts you have?
Final thought. This is a tremendous project you are doing, India Foundation of India Studies and Oral History, recording the whole thing, and all the volunteers, our gratitude and our appreciation, and for Dr. Nikam doing a splendid job, and I hope it makes some sense collectively what we have talked about. Collectively it will be of some benefit to the future generation and for the project you are doing. So thanking you.
Devi, you have any final thoughts?
The same thing, I agree with him, this is a good idea to recording all this. I think it will be there forever for the future generations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nikam.
Thank you very much.